Let me say the rolling words. I need a good GIF. Rolling. What would be a good GIF for rolling that we haven't used? Rolling with the homies. Oh, how about Miyazaki? That's good. Okay, so
Oh,
Nikki,
cute.
hi.
Yes. Hi.
So yesterday morning we got up
Yes.
very early because the air conditioning in Kira's car, the Sonata,
Hmm.
was not working. And we thought, oh, well, we called them and they said it's probably just a Freon recharge thing. We do that. Don't worry about it. Bring it in. We'll have it done by the end of the day. And so we take the car in at 7 and leave it there. And we're just going about our business. And then we get the email. They send you the email that says, here are all the things we need to talk about. And you just cycle
Jeez.
through one thing at a time.
Yeah.
And the first one was like, well, the Freon recharge. Okay, well that was $400. And then the mount that mounts the engine to the body of the car is starting to fail and cause engine vibration. That's another $450 to replace that mount. Um, the needs new spark plugs. There's another
Oh, of course.
$400.
You
And
need to have the
then
spark.
yeah. So far, what are we up to? $1,500, something like that. And then it
Oh.
says the air conditioner, compressor, and control unit need to be completely replaced. $3,000.
Oh my
So now
gosh.
it's not, I mean, it's not an old car, but it's not a high value car. Like it's a 2016 with high miles.
Yeah.
And so, probably if it were in pristine condition, it'd be worth like what, 8 grand, 10 grand,
Mhm.
maybe.
Mhm.
So here we just get a bill for more than half the value of the car,
Of the
and it's not
car.
in pristine condition. So we call them and we say, what do you say? Like, I mean, we
Yeah.
drove the car there this morning. What do you think? And she said, yeah, we are longtime customers of this dealership. Like we know the people. I don't feel like we were being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And she said in a whisper, she said, I wouldn't put my mother in it. Like, what are you saying? She said, well, my tech said, I mean, technically they could drive it like maybe around the corner, but for driving long distances, there is a very good chance that when it heats up in hot weather, that control unit is going to start smoking and fire will erupt in the engine. And so now we have a rolling death trap.
I was going to say I think it's time to get a new car.
And so we drove over there yesterday and we said, what if you just took the car from us and kept it and we
Yeah.
took a different car?
Yeah.
And they said, okay, but it'll take a little bit of money on your part because again, $5,000 in repairs that need to be done before we can do anything with it. And so this was the big day. The big day we switched to all electric and we got the Ionic 5.
Wow,
I know.
cool.
It's weird. It's just we did it. We didn't, but it's that thing where you're just kind of pressured into a car. So we got like the shortest, lowest lease we could get because
Uh,
we're not high mileage people anymore. And we just wanted to get something and then, move on. So we have a very short lease to give us time to think about what we really want on our next car, my like perfect midlife crisis car. But
sure.
in the meantime, Nikki, I've driven a lot of cars. I've seriously driven a lot of cars, and I have never put my foot down in a car and felt power like this. Like it is absurd. It is an absurd amount of power in this car. It's
Yeah.
so fast and doesn't shift. Like it's a single gear. It just is a wind up speed car. And so I of course will not let the children drive it. And I mean it is horrendously
So,
fast.
what kind is it? I want to see
It's
it.
the Ionic 5. They have
Ionic
2 Ionic models right now, the
5.
Ionic 5 and the Ionic 6. And the 5 is a slightly it's kind of a crossovery SUV type car. We've never had a car of this shape where you could put the seats down and carry a bunch of crap. Like, we've never had that.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's totally
look.
new. We're sedan people. The Ioniq 6 is a sedan. So that's kind of what we were leaning toward. But it looks real futuristic. It feels like
Yeah, it
I'm
does.
in like Iron Man's laboratory, like when I'm driving around in it. It's very austere. It doesn't feel
Yeah, it's fancy.
it looks but
What
that's
color do you
like
have?
it's called teal, but that's not accurate. It's more like a slate gray with green in the right light. Like, it's beautiful. The color is gorgeous. We
Oh,
love the color.
is it a color that's really popular right now?
I think it is. I think we
Yeah,
got
I
the
think I
popular
know.
color.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about because there is this new color in cars that you see that isn't a color that you have had in cars. Like it's new. It's a
Yeah.
newer and it's a really pretty color. I like it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
this is cool. I like it.
I
I like the shapes around it and
It's funky,
it's pretty
right?
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now
Um
you have to go to like Target parking lot and power up your car,
yeah. I
right?
do. I do. And luckily, because we had the hybrid, we took advantage of a deal 2 years ago, and we had a level 2 charger installed in our garage.
Uh-huh.
So now, like,
Oh, that's
that
cool.
charges we got it because it was on the hybrid. It was really nice because you could drive in effectively electric mode, and we would get 25 free miles a day
Yeah.
every time we charged it. And so we rarely went to the gas station on that car. Like, we were just really driving electric. And so being able to plug this in, like, we just brought it home and plugged it in, like it was just ready to go. And um it's charged overnight, and it gives you, I think, on eco mode, it gives you like just under 300 miles of range. You put it in normal or sport mode, it gets down into that 250, 260
Mm-hmm.
range. But for us, like, we don't need much more. And it includes 2 years of free charging in the on the charging networks. So
That's great.
we don't have to worry about fueling the car anymore, which is great. And because the lease is only about 2 years, just over 2 years, we're going to give it away. We're going to take it back,
Yeah.
and really
Figure out what
make
you
a more
want next.
thoughtful decision.
Sure.
But for now, it's a lovely little
I
car, and
like
it's
it.
weirdly, I was
And
worried
it's
because
not going to catch on fire.
it's not going to catch on fire. I will say to Steve, the Ioniq 5N was sitting in the lot. They don't sell them. This was one that was in for service. And the 5N is the N line on for Hyundai is their track ready cars. And yeah, there you go. Steve found it.
Yep, I see
Um
it.
and I mean, that is exactly by car. Are you like here somewhere? That's so funny.
Wow, that is so cool.
Um so the
Well, he
uh
does know where you live.
He does know where I live. The 5N is the track enabled car, and it was the first track N line track car that's all electric in Hyundai's line. And you look at it, it's got like a racing steering wheel. It's got thousands of buttons on it. It looks like an F1 steering wheel. It's so weird, but it's bright orange. It's a little bit lower to the ground, and it's like $75,000. And that was obviously not in our budget for that. But I think it has a sub 3 second 0 to 60, the N line. Like,
Wow.
and I'm saying, like, my car is now the fastest car I've ever owned off the line. Like, it is shocking when you really put it. It's so fun. So,
That's so cool.
um,
Well,
and
congratulations.
well, I
That's so
think so.
fun.
I think so.
That is really
Um,
fun. And safe. Much safer.
oh, Steve has the Polestar 2. Oh, yes. That's really exciting. I did not know you had the Polestar. Yeah, we should do tradesies of experiences. That's
Now,
fun.
I want to know what the Polestar 2 looks like.
You should check it out.
Yeah, so
That is a sedan.
Polestar 2 car.
Um,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, ridiculous. I've been excited to go all electric for a long time, and so this was, it was time. And that the
That's
drive is
really
so
nice
good,
too. Yeah.
is exciting.
that's nice too, Steve. I like that car
Yeah.
too. That's
Yeah.
really fancy.
Talk
Wow.
about like that one. I
You
think
guys
like
are.
it looks more futuristic than for a while. The Ioniq 5 was like the most futuristic thing I could think of, but I think the Polestars have now
Oh yeah.
exceeded that.
Yeah, that looks really
Yeah.
nice. Wow, cool.
Yeah, I think this is what I mean. I don't know what I just look at. Like we were talking to the finance guy last night, and he was like, don't buy an electric car. Don't buy an electric car. The technology changes so fast. Like the batteries change, the plugs change. Everything has been changing so fast. Nothing is stable in the industry. So if you're going to get an electric car, definitely lease it, because you want to be able to just take the keys in
And turn
and
it in.
give it away and get whatever is current, because it's not going to be current for very long. So,
Yeah. Oh, that's good to know.
yeah.
Wow.
I think
It's
think
like you got a new family member.
I totally did. And we got it's so weird. We got a bigger car when both of our kids are moving away. Like that's weird. But there was a strong incentive to do so. Like
Sure.
they give you money to do this.
Yeah.
But the Rivian R3X is the next thing that I think will go into production in 2026. So maybe available 2027, and that is probably the next electric car that I really want to put some money toward. Maybe by then I'll get something different, but I'm waiting for a strong midlife crisis or to line up
with your convertible
with money. Yeah.
Ferrari or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway. All
That's
right.
awesome. Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Super. No entertainment clutch. I don't have anything to report other than.
No, I haven't been watching much TV. I've been reading a lot outside.
Yeah.
Because the weather's so nice. And so after work, I go outside and just hang out on my patio for a while.
That's nice with the weather nice like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I did have to watch The Acolyte. It's the new Star Wars show. I did have to watch that for a podcast we're recording. And yes, seeing Deadpool opening night. Very excited about that, Steve. Outstanding. But The Acolyte, I really enjoyed. The first 4 episodes were, not they were a little slow. The last 4 episodes were bangers, absolute bangers. So there you go. If you're a Star Wars nerd, jump in. It's good. Let's. Oh my God, Melissa.
What?
5 episodes away from finishing Lost for the first time.
Oh, that's right. Because she's been watching Lost. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's big. Wow. That will be an interesting catch up to see what she thinks of the last episode. Can't wait. Yeah, Deadpool tomorrow night. That's it. Make sure you wear your red pants. Okay.
Do you have red pants?
No.
You should get some.
Yeah. I'll get some. Wear my red
You
leather
do
pants.
like a Jimmy Fallon. I've got my red pants on. I've got my red pants on. Gonna go watch Deadpool.
We have to record the podcast because I have to turn my fan back on. It's so hot in here, and I can't. Oh my God, I'm burning up already. This is terrible. What's the
You're gonna have
outside?
flames coming out of you.
It feels like I'm just gonna be dripping with flop sweat in a minute. Oh my goodness. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Taking Control, the ADHD podcast on True Story FM. I'm Pete Wright, and oh, look, it's Nikki Kinzer.
Oh, look. Hello, everyone. Hello, Pete Wright.
Hi, Nikki. Hi. I'm excited to be podcasting with you again. This second episode of season 29.
If you don't want to, you can change your mind. It's okay.
And I can feel good about it. I don't have
Yes.
to be filled with self-loathing and self-judgment and
right.
And just rage like I'm accustomed to. It's fine.
Do it on a different day. It's fine.
Which is exactly what we're talking about today. We are talking about well, you were inspired. you were inspired
I was inspired.
to change your mind. And we changed our mind on this episode, and we're doing this right now today.
That's right.
Which is going to be really, really great. And so before you do that, head over to the website, takecontroladhd.com, get to know us a little bit better. You know the whole drill. Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, it's all Take Control ADHD. We're going to be talking a lot on those platforms. We'll be talking on personal platforms too. I'll go ahead and shout it out. I started my Instagram account again, _Pete Wright, and I'm going to be talking about stuff. You know how I know? Because I've been assigned to do so. And so get ready for more of that. If you want to jump into our Discord community, visit takecontroladhd.com/Discord, and you will you'll be able to log in there. A lot of the channels are free, but if you really want to help us out, and if you're a longtime listener of the show and have just been considering what you might do to support Nikki and Pete and the ADHD podcast team, head over to Patreon, patreon.com/the ADHD podcast. Listener supported podcasting. That's what that is. For a few bucks a month, you support the show for sure. You help us put shoes on our feet and food on our tables. And you also get access to other stuff, like all the secret channels at the different tier levels in Discord. And there's a lot going on in there, which is really, really fun. You also get access to the live stream. You join us for the member-only segments before and after every podcast in the live stream. You get access to all the goofiness. We talked about cars before the show started today. You missed out on that if you didn't hear it.
And you also missed out on the fact that Pete has red pants.
Sassy pants. Yeah.
Or will have.
I will.
He will have some red sassy pants very soon for Deadpool.
I aspire. Yeah, I aspire to red pants. And so there's just a lot going on in the member community, and we are super grateful for everybody who supports the show and continue to help us grow. So if you haven't thought about it, now's a great time. Patreon.com/the ADHD podcast to learn more. All right, Nikki, here we are.
This is it.
It's the mind-changing thing.
It's okay to change your mind.
Let's talk about where this came from. It was inspired by something that happened in the Declutter Challenge, right?
Yes. So it just recently happened. So the Declutter Challenge that we have 4 Saturdays that we work together, right? Doing the body doubling and doing the decluttering. And last Saturday, I was in my attic area. Yes, the attic that I fell through one time.
That is a dangerous
It is a very dangerous place, and Melissa told me to make sure I had my hard hat on. I didn't have my hard hat on, and my camera.
We definitely want to see if anything new happens.
Right, but I was very, very careful when I was in this attic space. But this is what I found. So my husband's a photographer, and we have tons of photo frames, and we have all of these photos that we've taken over the years. And I was looking at some of them and I'm thinking, gosh, this is such a great photo. Why do we not have this on the wall? Right. And then we have all of these great frames. It's like, why are these not on the wall? Well, we painted our house or inside of our house. I would probably say about 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. And we never put the pictures back. So we look like we just moved into our home when we've actually been here since 2007. So I pulled all of the picture frames, and I mean, there's a lot of them, like at least 50, if not more. I pulled all of the frames out into our guest room, and now they're there. And I'm thinking, and I was talking to our GPS members, because there's some members from GPS that are in the Declutter Challenge. So we were on our Monday meeting, and it was during Q&A, and I was like, I kind of think I want to change my focus from the decluttering to actually focusing on these frames, because I would really like to know which ones are broken, which ones I want to put up, and then start putting them up in my house. And it's interesting because I'm changing my whole focus for the last session. So in the last session this Saturday, I'm going to be working on the photo stuff and not decluttering. And some people might think that that's wrong because I'm veering away from the original intention.
Well, I think it's really important to address why it is we're met with such such a strong emotional reaction to that. If we're met with a strong reaction to that, because I get it, I really get it. And I would say for me is I have been told all along that ADHD is what is preventing me from getting something done. Therefore, if I choose to change my mind and try to be open to that, the immediate response is, oh no, that's ADHD talking. It's not real. It's not a real intention. I shouldn't honor that because that's just. Are you there? Do you
Well, you
see
were
me?
frozen. You were frozen for a while.
Oh, did you hear what I said? Do I have to repeat it?
I all I heard was like, is this ADHD? Is it real? And then, but I'm
Yeah.
not exactly sure where you were going.
I said, is this ADHD? Is it real? Or is it just ADHD telling me that you're just trying to get out of doing something you don't want to do? Because that is
Yeah.
a real thing.
And that's where I think you have to be really honest with yourself. And this is where why we're talking about this, because as we're going to explain this, with ADHD, there comes this challenge of black and white thinking. It can be black and white thinking, all or nothing, absolute thinking. They all mean the same thing, right? So, where the issue is with this is that I, what do I want to say? I committed to a challenge and now I'm changing my mind. And what you're saying is, well, ADHD is telling me that I'm changing my mind to avoid the declutter challenge. But I know that that's not true. And so I think you have to be, you know how we were talking about, are we lying to ourselves? Are we being true
Mm-hmm.
to ourselves? And so I think that this is where the conversation, and this is why I inspired this show, is because when we were talking about this with the other declutter member, is she said, well, it makes sense because the impact for you on these frames is higher right now
Mm-hmm.
to get this done because you're going to enjoy them. You're going to be getting them back, getting, and I'm using 3M strips to get
That's
them
good.
on the wall, And so as I was talking to her about it, I'm like, I feel better about this because I'm not breaking the rules, right? And I'm not leaving something because I don't want to do it. I'm just switching gears because right now this feels more important. It is more important. It doesn't just feel it. It is it to me. I would rather spend the time doing this. And I'll go back to the decluttering. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think that there's a conversation because my first reaction to all of this too is like, well, I failed. I'm not doing the challenge. I'm giving up. I'm quitting. But that's not true. I'm not giving up. I'm not quitting. I'm switching gears. I'll go back to it. I'll continue to do this. But right now, I found something that I wasn't expecting that
Right.
is really important to me to take care of. And this is the opportunity to do it.
And I think that's the important distinction. But I also think that is what is so hard about ADHD because
Yes.
intermittent reinforcement of those signals means that I can feel like this other thing is more important. I can know in my heart of hearts that it's more important, and that can still be a fake signal, right? So I have learned not to trust those signals because of my ADHD. I've learned not to trust them. So any change in gears ends up being an opportunity for me to revisit the feelings of failure, right?
Well, and
Even
and
if
I
it's true.
right, right. And I think that that's why this conversation is so important
Yes.
because that is the black and white thinking.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
you're saying, if I don't do this, I failed. If I don't do this, ADHD came. If I change my mind, I'm doing something wrong. But it is okay to change your mind.
Hmm.
And it's okay to have a bunch of projects that aren't finished.
Yeah.
We have to be okay with that. Like, because that is the reality of ADHD. There are going to be some things that aren't finished. But but the other thing I want to say here is don't discount. You're frozen. There we go. Are you there now?
The internet is so bad today. I don't understand it.
Yeah,
You just
that's okay.
froze for like 8
Yeah,
seconds.
you froze too.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're freezing together.
freezing all over the
Um,
place.
But the one thing I don't want to discount, and this is what we discount.
Hmm.
I did 3 weeks of decluttering.
Right. No, we got. I mean, that
So,
your brain's going to throw that right away, right? You
oh my
change your mind.
gosh, yeah.
Clearly, it's not worth it. And this is why. And we'll get to it, but we should get to it because this is the thing that I think is probably biggest in for me in this entire discussion. It all leads to sunk cost fallacy for me, right? It all leads to that. And I don't remember if we talked about it in our mental models series, but we need to get to it because all of the things leading up to it are all manifestation of cognitive distortions, binary thinking we've talked about before,
Yes.
and the biggest one for me is exactly what you just said. So let's talk about some of how black and white thinking can emerge.
Well, I'm going to give you real examples of things that I've heard recently.
Yeah,
Uh, okay. So, timed blocking doesn't work for me because I don't do what I say I'm going to do.
right.
I didn't do everything on my task list today. I should have been more productive.
Huge.
The morning didn't go as planned. The rest of the day is ruined. And
Yeah,
this is a
every
big
day.
one. A task took longer than I expected. I'm not being productive enough.
Yeah, right.
And this one is huge. I think
Yeah,
that this is a really important one because tasks typically take longer than what we expect. We put way too much on our task list to do for the day.
hmm,
And then when we don't get everything done, we feel like we've done something wrong. We've failed. We weren't productive enough. We should have done something different. I spent too much time doing this. But the reality is, it took you the time that it took you to do this. That's not being not productive. You were productive in that moment. It just took longer than what you expected.
right.
Nothing's wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. And so it's such a mindset.
Yeah,
And or also again discounting what it is that you're doing.
right, right. Which is,
So
yeah. I mean, that's really important. I went back and I looked up some of our mental model stuff, and so let me just review a couple of the cognitive distortions because you just said
yeah.
another one there that we've run through over the years. All or nothing thinking, got it. Seeing
Hmm.
things in black and white categories. Overgeneralization, right? Drawing broad conclusions
Huge.
from a single event, huge. Mental filters, focusing solely on negative aspects while ignoring the positives. That's 8 a.m. day ones for
Yeah,
me.
you're focusing on
Huge.
everything that you
Yeah,
didn't do, but not on what you did do
right. And we do this all the
all the
time,
time.
all the time. Discounting the positive, rejecting positive experiences as unimportant, right?
Or
Um,
once in a lifetime, like this
yeah,
is just a fluky thing. Yeah.
right, right. Uh, Jumping to conclusions, making negative interpretations without supporting facts.
Hmm.
Got it all the time. Magnification or minimization, exaggerating negatives or downplaying positives. So
Yes.
you're essentially letting the peaks and valleys rule. Emotional reasoning, assuming that feelings reflect your reality. That's
Yeah, the
very hard.
emotional toll, right?
Totally
I
defines
mean,
what we're
that's
talking about here, how bad we feel when we change directions and change our minds.
yes.
Uh, should statements, using words like should, might, or ought to define how you feel about doing a thing. Labeling, attaching
Hmm.
global negative traits to oneself or others. And personalization, assuming responsibility for events outside of one's control.
Absolutely.
All the time. And this leads back to my mantra for a lot of years. Their stress is not my stress.
Right.
Like,
Their
don't take
emergency
ownership.
is not my emergency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so those are kind of the mental models, the cognitive distortion mental models that we've talked about, and I think they really reflect on why we get stuck in this place, this emotional reality of self-judgment, self-loathing, whatever your norm is when you are faced with an opportunity to change your mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the sunk cost fallacy again
You got it.
because I have a really good example.
Well, okay, so what is it first? It's the sunk
Well,
cost fallacy.
let's do the
Yeah.
definition.
So the tendency to continue doing a thing because you've already started doing a thing, even if that thing is no longer beneficial, right? So I mean, you said it, like uh, taking on the declutter challenge for 3 weeks and changing your mind. Well, you couldn't do that because I've already spent these 3 weeks. I didn't finish, so I have to spend the rest of the week because I'm telling myself that those 3 weeks no longer matter if I don't do the fourth week.
That's exactly
That's
right. Yeah.
that's the fallacy.
That's it. Yes. And I have this weird little example that's going on right now in my life. So I decided about 2 weeks ago that I was going to do a 2,000 piece puzzle, which is huge,
Yeah.
right? Usually I do a 1,000 piece. And it's so big that it doesn't fit on my puzzle board. It fits on my table. And so I had to take everything off of the table and I have to put a blanket over it and I have to put all this stuff on it so that the cats don't get into it and everything, right? Well, it's taken me a long time to work on this and it's not finished yet. Well, this is the issue. On Friday, we are getting a new table and chairs.
I could not imagine. I looked at the notes and I could not imagine where this was going to go. You
This
have
is
to
where
get
it's
rid
going.
of this. Oh my God.
Uh-huh. Because I can't move it to the other table we have because it's a puzzle. And it's 2,000 pieces. So I unless I finish this excuse me, unless I finish this puzzle by Friday, which is not going to happen because I'm working
Yeah.
and it's just not going to happen. There's still probably at least half that still needs to be done. I am going to have to and I'm going to have to put this puzzle away unfinished.
That is heartbreaking.
So
I just as an aside, let me tell you as a parenthetical, this is a sidebar. We're doing a sidebar.
yeah, sidebar.
We had puzzle emergencies too. For puzzles were too big, and so we went to a custom acrylic place, and you can take measurements of your table and have them cut giant sheets of plexiglass and keep it in the corner. But when you do your puzzle, you can then take the plexiglass and put it on top of the table, and then you can use the table again and just know that your puzzle is
Okay.
completely protected. That will not help you here.
No, but happy birthday to
Yeah.
me. That
Yeah.
is going to be my birthday present this year.
Absolutely.
Brilliant idea. Because then
Yeah.
I could have just moved it into my bedroom and put it on top of the bed until we get the new
Exactly.
table and chairs. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's good. All right. Well, it is. I mean, but going back to this whole idea, this is this is not a life shattering thing, right? I mean, it's going to be
Yeah.
okay. It sucks because I have put a lot of time into what I've already put into it. But it is what it is. It's not gonna,
Well,
hurt me or hurt anyone else.
but listen to how you're talking about it. Like, that is so healthy the way you're talking about it. And the problem with sunk cost fallacy is we don't normally use that kind of language
No.
with ourselves, right?
Right,
We get
right.
stuck in it,
Yeah, yeah.
and it becomes a thing that it's impossible. There is a room in this potential future where you would be a person to say, I'm not giving up this table. You'll have to make room for 2 tables.
2 tables until
Right?
I get,
Until you
yeah.
finish,
Or
and
I'm
then
going to
come
stay
back
up
and
all
take it
night
away.
until this thing is done.
Right,
And
right.
and it is going to be this like huge priority. Right.
Which
right.
is not healthy behavior. You're not being paid to do a puzzle. You're not
No.
doing some sort of a contest,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
a race. You're okay. And that's the healthy language of
yeah.
it, right?
Well, and that's where I want, this is so prevalent for so many people is again, this conversation is so important because it brings that awareness that what are we telling ourselves? What is the story that we're telling ourselves about the situation? Whatever it is, whether it's a puzzle or switching focuses on a challenge. What are what how are we speaking to ourselves? Because I think that that's the biggest component is that self-compassion. are you speaking to yourself about this situation the same way
Yeah.
that you would speak to someone that you love? And it was interesting because when that comment came to me around, well, it took me longer to do this, but so I should have done something different. I should have been more productive. And I asked that person, so would you have said that to your child? Would
Hmm.
you have told them that the way that they, because they took too long, they weren't productive enough? And, the client kind of stepped back and like, no, I would never say that. So then why is it okay to say it to
Yeah, of
you?
course. Of course.
And so it really is going back to how you're speaking to yourself as well.
So I've been making some notes. I've got questions. Can I ask you some questions, Coach?
Sure.
I've got
Yeah,
questions.
go right ahead.
One, some of this feels like it's anchored in how we evaluate what it means to finish a thing. And I wonder if there isn't a sub conversation here around how do we reframe the concept of finishing that is more ADHD friendly or more of this sort of change your mind friendly, more adaptable. Have you ever approached that? Like redefining what finishing means
No,
in planning and goal setting?
yeah, I think that that's actually a really important point because how we define things make a difference. And so it would be a question that I would say back to you is what does finish mean? What does finish mean to you? What does good enough mean to
Hmm.
you? How does it feel to be at a place where good enough is? Because good enough sometimes feels like, well, I didn't do enough.
Hmm.
Right? Or I should have done more. And so it's peeling back the limiting beliefs and the shoulds. Where are the shoulds in here? And with this game, with this decluttering game, I've had more questions this time around the game itself because at the end of the month we're supposed to have 496 items, right? Because
Hmm.
we're playing the game that
Hmm.
you told us about a long time ago,
Years and years ago.
years
Yeah.
ago. And a lot of people are very hung up on if they don't do the 496 items, they failed.
Hmm.
And I have to keep reminding them that there's no failure here. That if you do 100 items, that's great. You just you just let go of 100 items. And so the game was to gamify it. It was to make
Hmm.
it fun, but it's not to make it as a, again, something you failed at the end if you didn't do. So I think it's getting that
It's really
flexibility muscle. Like,
That's it. It's really only failure if you didn't have fun, right? If it
right. I
became
mean, it's
painful,
supposed to be
that's a
fun.
failure of the game, not of you. Like, that's
Right.
not for you.
Right. And
Yeah.
and maybe 496 items isn't your goal. Just because I have it as a game doesn't mean that that has
Hmm.
to be your goal. And so also like we had members that were saying, "Well, I'm not really going to focus on the numbers. I'm just going to focus on what I'm doing." And I'm like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, that's it. That's what
Do
you're
it.
doing. That's what we're doing." So I think it's just that flexibility that even though this is laid out a certain way doesn't mean that you can't adjust it or you can't tweak it for yourself or that um you're not doing good because it's not finished. I don't know. I mean, I guess going back to your point is, yeah, we need to know a better definition of what that means. And
Well,
maybe nothing is finished. That's the thing
yeah.
too, is maybe there isn't a finish line. When we talk about goals, right? We don't like that word because it feels like it has to have a start and a finish.
Yeah.
But when you talk about focus, that feels so much nicer because the focus is something that can be ongoing.
Yeah.
It's not something that you have to finish. And so, yeah, I
But
think
this is why it comes back to how we define what finished means on a project that we take on. Like the
right.
finish is loaded, right?
Oh, it
But
so much is.
but maybe the end of the declutter challenge is I'm going to have fun for a month
Hmm.
and I'm going to declutter some stuff in my house with some friends,
Yeah, right.
right? Maybe
Right.
that's the goal. The goal is have fun for a month decluttering. The goal is not a
Hmm.
certain number of things. And because as soon as we do that, as soon as we look critically at every project individually about what finished looks like, I think we're going to be able to build a more flexible approach to setting endpoints that allow for changes in direction, right? That
Right.
allow us to be opportunistic about the things in our lives. I just want to make sure we balance that with let's say I go to work every day and there are deadlines, and
Yeah.
sometimes I have to do those deadlines. It's very different when we're talking about not finishing a puzzle or not finishing the declutter
Yes.
challenge than it is when people are breathing down my neck and I have just decided, you know what, I'm changing my mind. I need to do something else.
Yeah.
That, like, when is it okay to not be okay with yourself versus to be okay with it and push through? Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
No, I
that feels
do.
like an
And
important difference.
right. And I think that that's where we probably need to not just accept things at face value
Right.
and actually dig into a little bit more about why you're behaving in a certain way or why you're doing
Yeah.
something. Um, you know, I have to try to remember this. Cut this out for a second.
Okay. Cut it out.
So there was a GPS member who was talking about, I gotta remember what she was talking about. Her issue was not okay, it was avoiding tasks. And then it had something to do with, well, I would get distracted. So we were talking about distractions, and she would get distracted and she would start doing something else. But then when I started talking to her more about it, it was not that, it wasn't the distraction. It was because she was purposely avoiding the thing that was on her task
Mm-hmm.
list. Um, so I think it goes back to really being honest with yourself. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. We're back.
I had to process through that. Okay.
Okay.
So your point is very valid. And I want to share with you, there was a conversation I had with a GPS member, and we were talking about distractions is where it started. And her question was, I'll have something time blocked and I need to do this task, but I will get distracted by something else, like doing the dishes or doing something that I see that needs to get done. And what was interesting is the conversation as it played out wasn't so much about the distraction, it was because she was purposely avoiding something. And so then the conversation switched from how to deal with distractions to how do you deal with an avoided task.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be really true to ourselves and really not accept things at face value. And if something is being avoided, then that is a different situation, especially when there's high impact involved. It's work related, it's financially related, or financial, consequences. So
Or
things like
team
that.
related when
So, or
someone's
team
waiting on
related.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think what you're saying is it's very true. We have to just be aware that this is where our thinking goes. And then in each situation, because we talk very broadly, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to really look at the situation and say, okay, what is really going on here? And what do I need to do next? And that will either say it's okay for me to let this go and know that I didn't fail,
Mm-hmm.
or nope, there's a pretty high impact here. If I
Mm-hmm.
don't follow through with this, I might get fired.
Well, you know what's funny is it seems like what we're talking about here, if you boil it down, and we talk a lot about when you're building out your projects, when you have tasks in front of you and you just don't know how to take a bite out of them, to break
Mm-hmm.
them down into their smallest atomic component. That's what you do. What is the smallest thing you can do? Going back to Kurosh Dini, who just says, just visit the thing,
Visit.
right? Just
Yes.
visit it. Just move it forward by thinking about it kind of hard today. You don't even have to do anything, just visit it. Breaking things down to the smallest atomic components is really important. The same thing, I think, goes toward defining what endpoints look like. And I think too easily we throw the word finished at it like we know what that is
Right.
without breaking down what it feels like to actually do the thing, to actually have an accomplishment. Because sometimes you get to the end and you feel accomplished for something that is different than the thing you started out to do.
Sure.
Right. And that's
Sure.
okay. And I think that's really important to look at the word finished at the atomic level too. What are the
Yeah.
things that you will have done? Because that might change the way you do things. It might change the way you celebrate the work that you do. It might change the way you communicate with the people who you are accountable to whom you are accountable. All of those things rely on you being super cognizant about the smallest, like, atomic deliverables of the end. And that I think going through this conversation, that helps me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Applying a prioritization strategy to defining what end is allows me, I think, to be more opportunistic when it comes time to change my mind, because I'll know what pieces need to move around more fluidly. Does that make sense? Am I just
Yeah.
barking?
No, it does. And I think, just again to clarify that each situation is going to have a different definition, because if you're painting your bathroom, there's a pretty clear, I'm
End.
starting to paint my bathroom and the bathroom is ended. If you
Right.
go halfway and you haven't finished the project, it's probably, I mean, maybe it's good enough if you're okay with having, two different colors, but you may
Right.
want to continue focusing on getting that finished.
Mm-hmm.
But decluttering and organizing a home is not as clear.
Right.
It is not as, this is now finished. And this is where it gets tricky too, when you're writing something or you're writing an email to someone. How do I know when it's finished? How do I know that I can send it? And so really you really have to look at what you're looking at and make that decision and go through that question process to figure out what you're comfortable with.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
good. That
it's
we
great.
finished, right? Did we finish? I don't know that I
I
knew
feel
what
like we
finished would look like.
finished.
I feel good about
I
this.
mean, this is going to come up again.
Well, this was great. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out and listening to this, and hopefully getting some thoughts out of it for the way you handle your own projects and your own feelings about changing your mind. We are gonna hang up the main show now because we've got to jump into the member-only chat. And there are people who are chatting right along with the live stream in Discord. And so we're going to go in there and take questions. And that is a benefit that you get when you become a supporting Discord member at the deluxe level or better. We hope that you consider joining so you can be a part of these kinds of great conversations. Thank you so much for your time and attention. We'll see you over in the Show Talk channel in Discord. And on behalf of Nikki Kinzer, I'm Pete Wright. We'll see you next week right here on Taking Control, the ADHD podcast.
There's a lot going on in the
Pete
chat.
and Nikki are coming. Oh my God, he's talking about us. Squeal. You guys, stop. I've got so much scrolling to do.
I know.
Oh, I like this. This feels like great. Last week we had kind of everybody. I think everybody was on vacation.
Yeah.
This feels great. Look at you. Look at those awful shoes. Put shoes on the table and food on. Awesome. Oh, excellent airplane reference. Okay.
Food on our feet.
So good. Awful.
Casey, where am I? How did I get here?
Yeah, CrowdStrike. Oh, man. What a mess.
What are you talking about?
The CrowdStrike bug that closed down airlines and
Oh,
blue
yeah,
screened
yeah,
to death.
yeah.
That's
Yes.
Steve is referring to that. It's still hitting
got it.
Pete several days later. Pshaw, I use a Mac. I did the same. I was originally working on decluttering my small cabin, but switched to my closet when it was more productive to make the change. Yeah. See, that is such a healthy adaptation
Mm-hmm.
that we can just do it. And I think that's what comes with mastery, that kind of language. That's what comes with the comfort and fluidity of adaptation. And so many are not there, right? So many are stuck in the place of feeling bad about it.
Yeah.
I think that Pete just hit on one of my core issues, trying to trust your own signals despite a lifetime of second guessing false signals and everything else. I thank you, Casey, for that comment. Because that's the thing that I kind of can't get over. And I think that's another lizard brain thing for me, which is I start judging myself negatively when I try to give myself permission to change my mind, right? It's like
Yeah.
that meta processing, that meta cognitive processing. I'm judging that. Just the idea of thinking about giving myself freedom to change my mind is hard,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Let
Mm-hmm.
alone doing it.
Well, and one of the things I didn't say as a as a strategy is we have to keep practicing it.
Yeah.
We have to have the awareness of it, and then we have to keep practicing that thought process
Yeah.
and keep challenging that lizard brain.
I'm also surprised we didn't use the word self-compassion at all along this
We
process, because
did.
that's
I
a
did.
thing. You did? We did? You
Uh-huh.
said
I
self-compassion?
did.
I must have been frozen. It's
Yeah.
possible I was frozen, because it plays such a huge role in
Oh,
managing
it
the
totally does.
outcomes, right? The guilt and inadequacy that comes out of these feelings.
Yeah.
Um, we didn't also talk about, maybe we did, and I was frozen for this too, but when you think about how you communicate your experience of needing to change your mind when you are accountable to other people, how do you communicate changes to others that maintain trust and reliability and those sorts of experiences when you've decided to redirect in some way?
Are you asking me that?
I'm asking you that, coach.
Yeah. Again, I really think it depends on the situation, because it really depends. I mean, I hate to have that answer, but there's so many answers to different situations. Like,
Hmm.
let's say that you told some people that you thought it would be a great idea to go camping this summer. And then now the summer is half over and you're thinking it's not such a great idea.
Hmm.
So, how much do you go into detail? I think it depends on who the people are. Is it family, or is it friends? Are they acquaintances? Do they know you really well? Maybe enough is just say, hey, it's not going to work out. I'm sorry. And then leave it at that. But then maybe there's some people that, you want to give a little bit more explanation. So I think it just depends on the situation.
Hmm.
Um, but I think there's also a confidence level that goes behind it a little bit too. Like, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay for me
Hmm.
to change my mind. I don't have to justify it. I don't necessarily have to convince somebody else why I'm changing my mind. So I think it just depends, on who the person is, what the relationship is, what you're changing your mind on.
Hmm.
Disappointing people is not a bad thing. In GPS, we have these 5Ds that Casey Dixon
Yeah.
had shared with us, and that last D that she adds is disappointment. And sometimes we have to be okay with disappointing other people for the sake of our own well-being.
Yeah. Right. Right. Um, this is this is either a really good and novel idea or something so obvious that me and my dumb brain are the last ones to get it. And when I present this idea as genius, I will be revealed as an imbecile. Those are a lot of words that I feel like I had already memorized. I totally get that feeling. Yeah, it's about balance, Christina.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was super good, though, Pete. I'm not entirely sure Pete realizes how good that statement was, or maybe he did. The opportunity to change your mind. Oh, thank you. And I will say, Steve, I kind of feel like I did intend to say that, um,
This is my life now.
because it takes a lot of work. um,
We're
which is
not
not going to
quitters here,
happen.
Nikki. I'm getting the impression that they want me to, finish this puzzle.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm getting that too. Getting a camping table. Angela, I think you're sliding into the live stream like you were here the whole time. You may have missed a really important point, which is the table there are no tables that are big enough to hold this puzzle. Like there's only one table
Yeah.
that holds the puzzle, and camping tables are too small.
Yeah.
This is Nikki's flex. Oh, my puzzle's too
It's too
big.
big. It's 2,000 pieces. What was I thinking? Even my
uh,
daughter was like, man, it's taking you a long time to do this puzzle. I'm like, it's 2,000 pieces and it's all flowers. It's like hard. It is not easy.
um, hello, darkness, my old friend. You've come to trip me up again. Yeah, adapt and thrive. Okay, so who was it who talked about sailing versus rowing? Was that Kurosh too?
Oh, I can't remember.
You know what? I'm gonna try. Uh, can you talk about something else while I do some real time research?
Let's see. What's craziest to me is that adapt and thrive is literally what we always do, right? So why does my brain permanently file all the prior instances of this as disaster barely averted? I got lucky rather than adapted and thrived yet again. I am capable. Yeah, because that's that immediate reaction.
Hmm.
So, I think again, that awareness and us having this conversation that next time that happens, like, wait, pause. Is this serving me? You know?
Hmm.
And it may take a while for you to you may be in the heat of the moment and feel that way. And then maybe it's after the fact, but just being aware of it,
Yeah.
that you didn't get lucky.
Yeah.
This is,
I can't find it. I love that cut it out thing. You never seen that? That's funny. Uh, the decluttering never ends. I just find a stopping point. LOL. I mean, that's it. Yeah.
yeah.
Finding a stopping point. It's just, that's defining finished at an atomic level.
Mm-hmm.
It was,
Christina, where were you when he asked me that question?
yeah, right.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
Well, you were
It,
here. I just didn't see it.
it was Dr. Dodge talking about positive and negative effect tolerance
Oh, okay.
with the sailing versus rowing. That was the one. I did that with a eulogy. I had no idea I finished until I gave it. Yeah, interesting. Oof. Yeah, I think that's. Are we good? Fed up my doctors. That thing with Microsoft. The ADHD anticipates my workarounds and mental coping devices and challenges them in advance. Yep, that was it. That is it. Ugh. Uh,
Oh, being comfortable with trying again is self love. Aw. I love that,
yeah, that's
Angela.
really nice. Yeah,
That's really good to remember. Being comfortable with trying again is self love. Yep.
yeah.
I like that.
This was great, guys. Thank you. Thank you for all of the comments. So good.
Yeah, it was. Talk amongst yourselves. I like
Talk
that.
amongst yourselves. Oh, yeah, he was at his best. All right, all.
Yeah,
This
this
has
was
been super
great. Thank you,
fun.
everyone.
We're gonna hang it up. We will see you online.
Oh, look at that little
I
panda.
know. I know.
So cute. All right, everyone. Take care. Have a great day.